Hello, my name is Rohit, and today I'll be talking about how to write an Android project. I'm assuming you already have Android set up, and that's why I'll go ahead and create a Hello World Android project. In this case, choosing to create an Android 2.2 project. In the application name, I'm going to mention Hello World. In the package name, I'll mention com.tutorial. Please note the package name is unique to an application in the market. That's why typically when you launch your application, it needs to be your company name. So I'll say Hello World Screen as my activity name, and activity in Android is the screen. And min SDK version is which SDK I want to support. So you can see over here, I want to support from Android version 2.1. However, I'm planning to make my application specific or more compliant to Android 2.2. So in this case, Android 2.2 is a target OS, and the backward compatibility is kept with Android 2.1. Now, once you get the Hello World project, all we can do is simply run as Android application, and this will launch the emulator. You need to have an emulator first. You can create the emulator from over here. So when you launch, you will see this screen, Hello World screen. Now when I click on my launcher and I go below, I'll see this icon called as Hello World, which is my application which is installed. And when I open it, I see this thing. Now let's try to understand the anatomy of an Android application. So the first and foremost important thing in Android application is the Android manifest file. Now Eclipse does provide a good way of structuring and showing this thing, but I prefer to look at the XML file. So let's go and look at the XML file. So you remember the package name which you mentioned in the project creation wizard. This is the package name which is coming. Again, this has to be unique. Second thing is a version code which Android internally uses to version the application. So if you put this application on Android market with version code 1, the next version has to be 2 or more than 1. So it can be 1, 2, 5, 6, whatever. It has to be in an incremental order. The version name is a user readable name. It doesn't have to really do with, it's not really checked. So the only thing which is checked is the version code for incremental versions. Like I mentioned over here, the backward compatibility, we're talking of level 7, which is Android 2.1. Here is a definition of the application. So this is the part where I define that, okay, my application is going to be like this. Now if you note that you're seeing something called as drawable icon. So really what you need to do is you need to go into this folder called as resource. Resource will have drawables for HDPI, LDPI and MDPI, but at runtime it's going to only see one drawable because the phone will have only one resolution. So think about this. Drawable icon is really drawable an icon, simple as that. So it's saying that this application needs to take this icon, and you can very well see that this is the same thing which we saw in the launcher. Then the next thing is string app name. Now for strings, you have to look into a folder called as values and a file called as string. Here you can see that the app name is Hello World, and this is what we saw as a name of the application. So when I go over here, Hello World and icon, this is what comes from these two entries. The next thing which I defined is something called as an activity with a name as Hello World screen. Now you'll see that it's mentioned as .hello world because the package name is com.tutorial .hello world screen. That is why it is that way. And in this case also I mentioned a label as the same. The label comes on the top as Hello World. Now this activity has something called as an intent filter. Now let me talk a little bit more about this to explain you what this is. Every activity can define that, okay, you can launch me if you have a particular intention. This intent, which we are calling an intent filter, is that, okay, my intention is to launch the application. This is the main of the application and it needs to be launched. So Android will go through all the APKs, all the applications which I install, go through their manifest file and look for activities with this intent filter. And those activities are listed in the application launcher. So you can have more than one activity, more than one entry points. So you will have more than one listings of the application in the application launcher. Now, having said that, let's go to the Hello World screen. Now, in this case, it's a class which extends activity. An activity, as I mentioned, is very simply a screen in Android, and we are overriding one of the lifecycle methods called as onCreate. And we are saying that I want to set the content view, the view for a content, as r.layout.main. Now this R class is very important to be understood in case of Android. Whatever you have inside the resource folder is accessible to the R. So the R is generated at runtime, as you can see over here. It's generated looking at the rest folder. So when I say r.layout, let's go into layout main. So it's saying that you should set the view of this activity to whatever is defined in this particular XML file. So if we see, we define, so you can see hello world, hello screen being defined, which is exactly what we are seeing over here. So let's go inside this and start to look at the layout. The linear layout is a layout which we use for stacking things, either vertically like we defined over here, or horizontally. We can say the layout width and layout height. Now this is something which is different than what you see in other UI building frameworks. Typically in other UI building frameworks you have got pixels or percentage. In this case we will say that this linear layout wants to fill the entire pattern. So it will take all the available space. That's what it's doing. And the text view is defined inside this, which says, okay, I want to fill the pattern in its width but not in its height. So I'll wrap content. So it says I'll take whatever height is required for me, but not all. And lastly, it says string text. Again, string hello is defined in this case as hello world. So I'll just change this, and when you go inside the main and you actually look at the graphical interface, it also shows this change. And the same thing happens when you try to run this application. So this has changed. Let's just quickly add some more things. Let's just say I want to add a button. And I want to define a text to the button. So I'll say string button. Let's say click me. This will give you an error because I haven't defined the click me over here. So I'll define the click me over here. Once I do that and I come over here, I can see that this button is there. Now if I run it again, you will see things working. So this is the thing. Now let's try to change this text when we click this button. So what we will do first of all is we'll define a text at the beginning. So we'll say hello world. So we'll say hello is just hello, and we'll change from this text to world. If we go and look it over here, it will say hello. When we want to click it, we want to change it to world. Now in order to do that, we want to access the button in the code, and to access the button in the code we would like to define it an ID. So the IDs are defined like this. So @ plus ID, I'll say click me is the ID of the button. I'll go to the Hello World screen and I'll say, first let me get access to the button. Now I'll say, when I say r.id, you'll say the click me ID is already there. This is how you get access to the button. Now we also want to get access to the text box, so that text view, so that we can change its content. So I'm going to find it like this. So same thing I'm going to do, just that in this case it's going to be text view. And the ID will be text view. Now I'll say button dot set on click listener, new on click listener, and there I have things. So what I will do now is I'll say text view dot set text, and I'll say r dot string dot world. I need to make the text view final over here. This is a Java requirement, and now you can see when we run this application, as I click, it changes to world. That is it. Thank you very much.